Hello, this is Daryl here, sending love as always. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to say if you like this interview, you can check our website for companion workbooks, action guides, tools, checklists, templates, and show notes with links for everything mentioned on the call. Just visit bestbusinesscoach.ca. That's best, B-E-S-T, businesscoach.ca. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multimillionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Daryl Urbanski here, and thank you for joining us today. Today we've got a very special guest. We have Dmitry. Oh, I might have to redo that. Kozlov? How do I pronounce it?
Kozlov, yeah.
Kozlov. All right, Dmitry. So Dmitry and I have actually known each other for quite some time now, and we've worked together on a number of projects. I'll talk about some of the technical stuff. I mean, so let's just go through the list. First of all, he's a very impressive entrepreneur himself. He's got a very reputable digital marketing agency called Vision Tech Team. His list of clients is just the who's who in a number of different niches. It's all thought leaders, speakers, guys doing six-figure, seven-figure launches and sales per year. But he's also someone that he's a really dear friend to me, sincerely. He's been there for me through some good times and bad times. He's helped me out with projects where we just were suffering with tech help and not getting what we needed done, and he would just jump in, and he just really knows what it takes to be successful. He's the guy that the gurus turn to. He's the guy that's behind the scenes working on a lot of their marketing campaigns and the stuff that you see. A lot of that stuff has been Dmitry's work, and now he's even gained more of my respect and admiration because he's developed a Maverick Next group, which is for young entrepreneurs 25 years of age or younger, and he's really helping bridge the gap between what he sees these super successful people and what they've accomplished, and helping young entrepreneurs who are struggling, and he's trying to build the bridge between those two. And he's just, outside of being a phenomenal human being and someone who takes pride in his work and is known for doing top quality stuff, he's just a really good friend and someone that I value and appreciate having in my network, and someone that I think for you to sit in and listen to us talk for 30 minutes to an hour would be of immense value to you. So, Dmitry, how are you doing today?
I am excellent, Daryl. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm honestly flattered. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Grateful to be here.
Yeah, well, it's true, and it's something that has happened for me too. I think we just get so into just doing, and in our projects and that sometimes we don't really stop and look at what we've accomplished, and all that's real. So that's all from the heart. So thanks,
awesome.
man.
Thank you.
How did you even get into what you were doing before you became like an online marketing kind of web marketing guru that nobody really knows? How did you even get started, or what were you doing? Kind of what was your journey that you started off with?
Sure. So I'm trying to decide on where to start here. So I was born in Russia, and when I moved to the States when I was 7 years old, really opened my eyes to, I don't want to say be cliche and say open my eyes to opportunity, but open my eyes to how, you could have a totally better way of life by just having by just having a different perspective and really seeing this country for everything that it had to offer. So when I was pretty young, I started doing just random little entrepreneurial things, like started shoveling driveways or like buying things at yard sales and reselling them. I was like 11 or 12 years old.
I was doing the same thing. That's
awesome. So started to get into some of that stuff and just realizing that anybody in this country can really leverage the economy and go make some money, and that is a good thing. Got my first job when I was 13. Really was just always just ambitious and wanted to find a way to take care of myself and make money. Was involved in my first tech startup when I was 16. Did not really work out well, and that really turned me off of business and entrepreneurship for a while. So then when I was in college, I actually kept doing the snow shoveling thing in the winters, and And finally, that turned into a real business that started to make some good money, and I hired some friends. But it wasn't until I got into direct sales and network marketing for a short period of time in college that I really started to study marketing. And then really started. I built myself a blog to try to generate leads because I was sick of the whole contacting friends and family thing. And that turned into other people in the company asking me to, or other people in that industry asking me to build them blogs and lead gen resources. So I started doing that and realized I was making more money offering the service than I was off of actually doing what I was doing. So I started doing that for people in that industry, for small businesses, just playing around a little bit with WordPress, using some basic technical and design skills. And eventually that turned into, when shortly before graduating college, starting a full-on agency, hiring somebody, and then really going full-time and full force with that. So that's really how I got started, even before I got into everything I'm doing now. So both at a very young age, and then kind of restarting again in college with some of the more online marketing stuff.
Yep. And I mean, what is one of the things I want to ask, like, how did you even get involved? Because you're connected with some very powerful people, some very, very, very successful business owners. I know together with work that we've done seven-figure funnels before
Right.
together. How did you even get into that? And what were some of the challenges? Did you have any challenges when you were first trying to figure out like how to make it work and what are the components and all that? Or can you maybe just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so just through building an agency, I started doing some work with some internet marketers. What really got me into the higher level networks, I would say, I mean, there were a number of things. There were a number of things that I worked on just from meeting people on Facebook, but it wasn't until I went to Underground Online Seminar 8, which was Yannick Silver's like big internet marketing event at the time. And I was 23 years old when I went to that, and just met a lot of really, really incredible people and realized that the skill sets and the resources that I had developed up until then could really help them out at with adding a ton of value to what they're doing. So started working with higher level businesses from that, and just really, really, I mean, the biggest lesson there was just putting in a massive amount of effort and commitment, and not letting my ego get in the way, and really the more committed, the more I learned, the better work that I did for a lot of these kind of bigger gurus in the industry, and that translated into referrals upon more and more work. Really started to figure out all the operational challenges, hiring more people, scaling things up. But really, that's how I got into that whole world. Is first going to Underground, really showing up, and doing my absolute best when I was given any kind of opportunity to work for somebody that was a big name, or somebody that wasn't a big name that could lead to any kind of bigger relationship. So before you know it, now literally with our agency, all of our clients are people who I consider visionaries and doing incredible things in the world, and
Mhm.
and it's an honor to be able to create something that helps them get their message out.
Right. No, exactly. And that's a big part of it too, because I always tell people a lot of times when they're building their funnels or they're trying to build their marketing that it's often the copy. And then I used to say web, but something you really helped me discover is not even just web design. You can get like lead pages or unbounce, whatever, and make a page, but it's the tech behind the web. It's making that stuff work and sing together. That's really a lot of the magic that happens. And those are two really big bottlenecks. Man, it just sounds like, yeah, you just jumped in with both feet and started working like balls to the walls from beginning to end. Now, were you seeing some commonalities in all these funnels and launches? Are there lessons learned? Is it kind of a template system or a repeatable process? Do you see what are kind of the cornerstones of a lot of these campaigns you're helping put people together that are getting the messages out and generating these huge numbers of revenue?
Right. Well, I mean, there's usually standard launch formulas, which honestly I'm less of like the expert in that area, because we've got people that do that now. But you have the standard launch formulas of you have you have your lead magnet, then you have your tripwire, then you have your actual upsell, then you have all these different directions you could take people in. There are more upsells or continuity program. So there's usually some sort of formula that people follow.
Right.
But our company so far at least has been less about, okay, let's plug you into a formula, and more about, okay, you already know what you're doing as a marketer. Let's actually make it a reality. Let's make it look really good. Let's do everything we possibly can to maximize conversions along the way, outside of obviously everything that they're already doing with their copy and with their product offers. and really just making all of that work and flow well, both from a technology standpoint and from a design standpoint, because working with higher end clients, we really want things to stand out, but still convert really well. So having that overlap of marketing expertise, as well as creative design, as well as technology integration.
Well, that's one of the things that I love working with you because for me, that's exactly it. I have all like I'm a marketer and I have all the formulas in my head and I knew what needed to be done, but it was making them look good and making them work right that really did cause the hiccups in getting that technology to work. Are there like any common bottlenecks or challenges that you see with a lot of your clients when they're trying to implement a lot of their marketing? And that's something that like your agency tends to tackle or take on or to,
It really varies a lot, especially because at the level that we work, there's usually there's all different kinds of challenges because most of the companies they're either 7 or 8 figure businesses, so they've got a lot of customization that they have, and oftentimes it's really sometimes the challenge it becomes a lack of simplicity when you're just starting out. Or even vice versa, right? When you're just starting out, you want to go make things really complicated because you see what all the big gurus are doing. And in reality, when you're just starting out, all you really need is a good offer, a good squeeze page, or a good squeeze page, a good offer on either the other side of that squeeze page or through some sort of sequence, and just something that first works and sells in the marketplace.
right.
Rather than even asking the question, okay, well, what are the big gurus doing, and how can I replicate that? Very oftentimes they're so much further ahead than where you are starting out that there's only so much you can learn from them based on where you are, and then you really just need to focus on what's working for you in the marketplace right now.
Right, and I love that you mentioned that because that's so key and that's so critical that people often they see like someone doing double backflips, somersaults off the springboard into the pool, and they want to do that too. When really it's just about getting, I'm switching analogies from swimming to football, but it's really just about getting the ball past the line, right? Like it's just about getting the ball past into the end zone, and so it doesn't need to be super complicated. You just said it right there. You've got a squeeze page, you've got your offer, which is your order form, some sort of sales presentation, and it's just a matter of building the list and getting them to buy your stuff and getting your numbers down really, really well, and then making sure that you have something that can satisfy a large number of people. Now, I know on the
Right.
back end of my course, some of the stuff I talk about is that where people shoot themselves in the foot is that they design their business structures so that way they're already limited before they even get off and going. They're only able to serve 5 people. They're only like they're at a cap that's not scalable. That even if they had everything working for them and there was a potential of 7 or 8 figure businesses that they don't actually get there because they can't fulfill that many
Right.
orders. So no, I really appreciate you bringing that up because it's the fundamentals are often fundamental for a reason because they really get you past the goalpost. Now, maybe I want to talk about your career a little bit, but we talked about this a bit earlier. I wanted to get your opinion on this because you've got such an amazing group of young entrepreneurs together. I was fortunate enough to meet them in Chicago, some of them anyways. And I wanted to say, what do you see as like the difference for when you meet, because you've been in rooms with some very powerful people, um, and then you meet these young entrepreneurs, and can you talk a bit about like the gap that you see or like the skill sets that are missing, or where you see maybe the younger people have more energy and ambition ideas but lack the confidence and the resources and the know-how, and like can you just what do you see
Right.
is that?
Right. Yeah. I guess what's really awesome about young entrepreneurs, oftentimes that you don't see with older, more successful entrepreneurs, is this super high level of passion, and sometimes almost like um how do I say this? Not like not being blind in a negative way, but just not knowing what they can't do. So they end up oftentimes accomplishing so much just because they just dive into things fully with that passion to actually create something really meaningful. So there's a lot of that versus with older, more experienced entrepreneurs. Sometimes there's because of their experience, there's oftentimes more reservation or more hesitation of diving into something fully to create something. So there's definitely that balance where there's a lot of wisdom on the older, more successful entrepreneur side, and that can all be passed on to the young entrepreneurs, which makes them even more powerful. But at the same time, what I love is seeing the collaboration of that with the youth and passion and energy of the young entrepreneurs, as well as the total open mindedness. Because a lot of these guys that have built really big companies, even though they have an idea of how things should be done, and sometimes that can actually be dangerous because how things should be done for them is based on how things were done in the past. And the world is changing so quickly right now that oftentimes a 21-year-old tech entrepreneur actually sees the world in a greater reality than a 40-year-old entrepreneur that's looking at the same marketplace.
Right, and you hit the nail on the head. That's so true. That's what happened. I always use the example of newspapers, but that's what happened to them. They knew the business they were in, or so they thought, and then they this all these blogs and this internet thing came out, and they had no idea what they were like, how to fight it because they didn't really understand what it was they were really selling and what they were up against. So I think you're right. I think that's both a trapping and it can be liberating because when you have the wisdom, you can you get greater, higher success levels, or what is it? More frequent success with every attempt, but at the same time, yeah, there's a lot of missed opportunity. And I think I know what you mean. Jim Rohn has a quote, I forget how it is, I'm going to butcher it, but he's like, if someone's going the wrong direction, they don't need motivation because now all you have is a motivated idiot. What
Yeah.
you need is to turn them around and point them in the right direction. And that sounds like what you're trying to do with your Mavericks Next program. Is that correct?
Well, sort of. I mean, most of the Maverick Next entrepreneurs, so they're young entrepreneurs, they're 25 and under. They've already got six-figure plus businesses. And so they're a very, very rare breed.
Right.
So I work with young entrepreneurs outside of that as well, but they're a very rare breed and they're very special to me. And the really, really cool thing there is they've already accomplished something really significant for their age. I mean, they've accomplished something really significant in general to be an entrepreneur, build a six-figure plus business,
Yeah.
but especially for being 25 and under.
Yeah.
So what's really cool there is they've already got this platform and foundation for success.
Right.
But at the same time, they're not burnt out. In fact, they feel like they have a much greater chapter to write for themselves. So what we end up doing is connecting them with not only peers to help them support them along their journey, because that's really important, but also these high-level mentors that can pass along that wisdom that we talked about, those experiences, those contacts, to be able to take these young entrepreneurs who already have the energy, a lot of the skill sets, and understanding of how the marketplace works, and really amplify either what they're currently doing or give them the opportunity to start something new that's even more meaningful, it's a much greater chapter than anything they've done to date.
Got it, got it, got it. Now, do you see do you see a lot of these entrepreneurs making similar mistakes or challenges that they're having?
Young entrepreneurs, definitely. Like one really big one is all around hiring, right? And I've gone through this a lot myself, and I've seen so many other young entrepreneurs go through this. Is the naivety that goes into first hiring people. You think, okay, well, I'm hiring my first few employees, or I'm hiring, a couple more people. You just have this natural level of trust. You're like, oh, I like this person. Let's hire him. They can do what they say they're going to do. And you end up paying the money, which a lot of young entrepreneurs don't have a lot of cash flow to go around. And they don't fulfill on what they think they're going to do. And they say, well, maybe I'm just better off as a solopreneur, or maybe I'm just, I'm not meant to have a team, or I'm not a good manager, or whatever. And these stories and lies that they tell themselves. But none of that is true. The reality is that they just made a mistake, which almost everybody, especially young
Yes.
entrepreneurs, end up making those hiring mistakes. And there are systems and processes for proper hiring. There's interview processes. There's things like wealth dynamics and Colby and Enneagram and all these tests that you could put people through to see where, not just whether they'll do what they say they'll do, but whether that person's personality and strengths and core values really match up with the position that you're looking for. And sometimes they don't, even if they have the necessary skill sets. So all of those pieces, right? All of that is wisdom, right?
Right.
You need to know a lot of that stuff to be able to properly hire people, to properly onboard people, to properly manage people. So there's a lot of these commonalities and mistakes, but I would say that the biggest one is hiring and then bringing on the right people. Another really big one is is pursuing things, and this is almost like the dark side of passion, is pursuing things that just don't work in the marketplace because you're so excited about them. And with young people, it happens even more often. They say, well, I'm so excited. This is totally going to happen. I've got this app idea, and why wouldn't everybody want to use blah, 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 blah. And you see that so many times, and they'll pour so much time and energy and money into building something that just won't become a reality. So there's always having, the lesson there is always having this balance of really testing things in the marketplace and seeing what works and seeing what gets a response. Combining that with your vision and knowing that you can create a wave in the marketplace that may not already be there. But if you don't get some sort of response based on what you're doing, it's probably not really a viable business. And you should not necessarily give it up, but look to tweak it in a way that the marketplace does respond.
Right, right,
So
right,
that's
right.
those are the two really big commonalities that I've seen more and more of.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Now, how about yourself? What were kind of your biggest challenges that you in your business career, and how did you overcome them?
For me, it's definitely been it goes back to partially that hiring thing, but trust. So just being a very, very trusting, open-hearted person, and then getting screwed over in the process, and then
Mm,
not wanting to go back and say like, well, I don't want to not be trusting, right?
right,
And realizing that you could totally be trusting, you could totally be loving, and all of those things, but at the same time, you can be firm in how you do business,
right.
and you can say no, or you can say you can make the decisions that are right for your business, and not have to save people by giving them a job or becoming their client or taking somebody on as a client or whatever it might be, right? For me, definitely that biggest lesson has been being firm while still leading with an open heart and with love and total trust.
Got it. Yes, I had this phrase to me. The most eloquently way was a stern but loving parent.
Right.
That's exactly, yeah, yeah. That stern but loving parent. That's awesome.
Right.
Okay.
Another Jim Rohn quote, I believe.
Yeah, it's either Jim Rohn or Dan Kennedy or one of those guys. But
Yeah.
I have a lot of Jim in me. I love Jim Rohn. I have like
Awesome.
such a man crush on that guy. I love his brain. I just
I
wish.
used to, yeah, when I was younger, that was actually another huge part of my story. So when I first got into the direct sales world, I started listening to a lot of personal development and almost every Jim Rohn program, Tony Robbins program, Brian Tracy program. And that's another huge lesson is like study and learn. I mean, I was totally broke. And nothing that I was doing was really working at the time. And I was so committed. I was like, I would drive back and forth to class and just have audiobooks on in the car and just always listen to this stuff. And I just absorbed it in such a deep way that it became an evolution of my being. And then when I first finally started making money with my business, all of that was only possible because of the person that I'd become through that commitment of years of not necessarily getting the results, but committing to that process.
No, I think that's a really important thing because when you accept taking being a business owner and entrepreneur, you really have to work on yourself because I think that being an entrepreneur is almost kind of Shakespearean because in all of Shakespeare's works, the main characters always fell victim to their personal flaws.
Right.
And so I think that that's almost the same thing in business, right?
Mm,
If you aren't careful, if you don't refine yourself and culture yourself and improve yourself, it's going to bite you in the butt, right? Like if you
right.
have really bad habits in any way, that's yeah, and then the other thing that you talk about the hiring process, that's such an important thing because you can't do it alone. And I just keep having to learn this lesson over and over and over, but you really do need to surround yourself with other people who complement your weaknesses, right? Because there's way too much going on as a one-stop shop. You hear about guys like I know Alex Mondosian one day wanted to be like the first $1 billion home-based business or whatever, but it's a tough racket to try and do it all on your own. And why? I mean, Jim Bunch, who I also did an interview with, he hit me hard with this one quote where he was like, Daryl, the name of the game is not to see who can outwork the other guy. That's not the name of the game, is who can outwork the other guy. It's who can get the best results.
Right.
And so I agree. I think that what you brought up is a really, really powerful point. I think that right now, just this thing about keeping it simple and really if you have something that's of value to the world, delivering it to them and just having a simple process to do that and making
Right.
sure you do the research in advance that you've got a market and not being married to the product, like those are huge, huge, huge lessons that I think are hard for some people to really like learn. Like, yeah, 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 I know, right? But to actually like get it and know it.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think that's huge. And when I felt that was me when you're talking about you're such a nice, loving, open guy. You want to help everyone, and just you get walked all over, and it's kind of it can be scary because it's kind of like, how do you be authentic to yourself, but then still have like that business face
Right,
on,
right.
right?
It becomes important to just really set boundaries and create your own personal rules and values and really just work with. I mean, the core values have been huge in terms of both the companies that I've been working on and like we do a lot through our core values, but then also my personal core values and do the people that I work with align with how I see the world. And if they don't, then they're not bad people. Doesn't mean that I don't like them. It just means that I shouldn't necessarily go into a partnership or relationship with them or any kind of like business association because I know that that can leave me in a position where I don't go in with a full open trusting heart or I go in with that and I might end up getting burned because there's not an alignment of who we are.
Right, 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 right. Very, very, very good stuff. Very, very powerful. So what would you say to anyone who's listening to this, who's kind of getting up and running and they're struggling and maybe they've been hurt by business, either by a bad business deal or they just poured so much of their life and their heart and soul into something that didn't work out? Would you have any advice to them if they're struggling or just trying to
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, be willing to be a beginner again. Don't, take the good stuff and the lessons from any experiences that may have seemed negative for you, and look at that as part of your journey to get to where you are today. And because you had that experience, because you had that part of your journey that may have been tough or may have been a struggle, you'll be better off in the next phase of your journey. So don't close off. Stay
Mm,
totally open. Take those lessons, integrate them into what you're doing, but don't get jaded. Don't say that because my business failed, entrepreneurship doesn't work, or because because this person screwed me over, that means that I'm not meant to have partnerships, right? Or
mm,
because this developer didn't do his job right, that means that I can't ever hire coders and I should just learn how to do this stuff myself, right? Don't take those as lessons. That's somebody being jaded, right? Because none of those are
mm,
truths, of course.
mm,
Those may have been truths in the moment, but they don't apply to the larger marketplace. They don't apply to everybody. But maybe you take this idea of, okay, well, the developer didn't build what I expected him to build. The lesson from that I can take is, well, maybe I need to do a better job vetting my developers, or maybe I need to do a better job specking things out, or maybe I need to have a higher budget and I need an investor next time I do this. Whatever it might be, right? Same thing with partnerships. This partnership didn't work out. Doesn't mean that partnerships don't work for you and you're not meant to work with other people. It means that you need to have, now you realize that you can't just go into a partnership blindly, and you really need to have a process and a contract and make sure that you two have complementary strengths, not just wanting to build the same thing, and so on and so forth. So yeah, to anybody that's either been burned or has had a tough business deal or has had a failure, look at those, try to find the positive lessons out of those for how you can improve next time, and then don't let the feeling of that failure or of that hiccup leave you jaded at all. So that you're moving forward with a positive attitude and even more lessons, and you're more empowered than you were before you started on that journey.
that is awesome advice. Thank you. No, wholeheartedly. And that's something that I think you've probably learned from being taught by the mentors you've had and witnessing these massive 7 and 8 figure businesses operate. Do you find that there's a commonality? Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, absolutely. Yeah, go on.
Well, do you find that there's a commonality in the culture and the the approach, the mindset that those people all have in their businesses? I mean, if you're doing 8 figures a year, is there a way that they conduct themselves or handle their business? Almost like
Yeah,
what you were saying.
yeah, absolutely. Most of them, at least the ones that I know that are more successful, that also have a better corporate culture, that have that have more freedom as entrepreneurs. It seems to be that the bigger the business, the more simplicity there actually is. So that's, it's not always true, but very very oftentimes I've definitely seen that where somebody's a lot more stressed out running a multiple six-figure business and they've got too much going on versus somebody that's running a $10 million business. Yes, they have a lot going on, but they actually have more simplicity as far as how they stand in the marketplace, how they have their operations run. They usually have some sort of, like, I've almost never seen an 8 figure business without a very clear mission statement that they actually adhere to, or an 8 figure business without very clear core values that they actually adhere to. That creates simplicity, right? Because if you have core values, and then you hire and fire and make your decisions based on those core values, that creates massive simplicity, because now every personnel issue, let's say you have 60 employees at that point, every personnel issue is no longer a one person issue. It becomes okay, well, does this work based on our core values? Is this person a fit? Are they not a fit? How many strikes? So on and so forth. So they have values and they have systems. So definitely, those are definitely huge commonalities, and they don't overcomplicate things in the individual sense because they have a structure that allows them to simplify.
I love that. Yeah. Can we expand upon this a little bit more? I love just when you're
Yep.
talking about like simplicity. I just want to can you give us if you don't have to name names or anything if you don't want to, but can you just give some examples of like something that's really simple that was surprising to you? Like you were like, I'm surprised that it's that simple that they're doing 7 figures off of 3 emails and a sales letter. Like what's up with that?
Right. So even my friend, my friend that I've been traveling with runs a 7 figure info business. He's 25 years old, and he's looking to scale up and everything. Then he's got complex campaigns because that's his skill set. He's got like 3 products, and he could scale up probably to 10 times his current size with maybe adding at most a couple of products. Versus on the other side, I've seen people who haven't even gotten off the ground yet, and they've got like half a dozen products. And it's like, what are you doing? You don't need to create all of those things. You need to create something that works in the marketplace, simplicity, right? And then you need to find a way to deliver it to the marketplace in a pretty simple way.
Right.
Split testing, right? Split testing is one of those really important things. But then on the other hand, I've also seen people say, oh, well, I'm going to go get traffic to this. I'm going to get 300 clicks, and I want to test these 3 elements on my landing page. No, you're not going to get any value out of testing 3 elements on your landing page from 300 clicks. What you need to do is, instead of focusing on all these tiny little minor details all over the place like you think all the big guys are doing that have really big traffic, you need to focus on, okay, what's simple? What's really going to work here? I'm going to put massive effort into writing the best copy I can for the squeeze page, making sure that that converts, right? And then getting a good offer on the other side of that, and then really taking really great care of the prospects and customers that come in.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking that you have to go do everything at once as either a one-man show or a small team.
Right. I love how you said that, because I have a client right now, a 5-figure client that's paid me that's paid me to work, and they are incessantly creating product, like incessantly. And I'm like, dude, like we're still trying to scale up the first one. Like, let's get the first one to 6-7 figures first, and then start building the back end, because he's got a huge market. He's got a phenomenal track record, amazing credibility, changing people's lives like you wouldn't believe, creating real passive income in people's lives and helping them out. And
Yep.
anyway, but it's just exactly that. Like, his problem is that he just wants to be in the studio, like recording content. Like, that's just,
Yep.
yeah, it's
Okay,
exactly.
so I have actually a really good example of the opposite of somebody that I've worked with that's done just every single thing he's ever touched has worked so well, but it's always been so simple. And he's not a complicated guy. He's just smart at making simple things work, right? So client that I work with, Mike Dillard, right? He even before I knew him, before we started doing any of his tech or design, right? I'd known him as he'd built multiple 8-figure companies, right? He'd built magnetic sponsoring into a $10 million plus company with a freaking ebook and a community and a good understanding of his marketplace and like a sales letter and some affiliates, right? There was not this massively complicated funnel. There was nothing that was like overdone about it. There wasn't a ton of just crazy marketing stuff going on, but it was a very simple strategy that grew it to an 8-figure business, right? I had the opportunity to work with him this last February when he was doing his Live Free and Prosper launch, right? And it was all kind of like, we literally put the whole thing together, and it seemed like weeks. And I'm sure that it'd been incubated in his head a little bit beforehand. But it was at the time a Google group with not even a full membership site, a Google group with some content, and I believe that launch did 7 figures if you combine all of the continuity and annualize it, right? It was awesome to watch and awesome to be a part of. And we maybe split tested like 3 headlines throughout the time, right? And it was a regular video sales letter page with a headline, with a delayed order form, and an upsell on the other side, right? And I feel comfortable saying all of this because it was all, it's all out there in the marketplace. That was the whole marketing funnel. Now, obviously, he had he had an audience, and he already had a brand, but he'd done this same thing even before he had an audience and a brand. Elevation Group,
Right.
Pretty simple thing, right? It was let's teach these black box investment strategies of the rich to regular everyday people. One product, a single product, $97 a month or $600 a year, and I don't know exactly what the revenues of that company ultimately are, but I know that when I was speaking to somebody, I believe it was like in the first 18 months they did something along the lines of $27 million in sales.
Yeah, which is just insane.
And it was with this one continuity product, right? Not a million different products, a million different funnels, so on and so on. Because the thing is, if you have 5 funnels for a bunch of different products, where's your focus going? Your focus is now spread out on 5 different funnels. If you have one funnel for one product that you feel super confident about it working in the marketplace and you've tested it, where's all your focus and energy going? Where's all your team's focus and energy going? Where's all your advertising dollars going? They're going to the one thing that's working, and you get to amplify that one thing that's working, rather than spreading your resources and your brain out too thin over a bunch of things that maybe one will work sort of and the others will not lose money if you're lucky.
Right. And the power of that, like again, that's the same thing. I mean, even with the project we worked on for John, people listening, John, Dimitri and I, we worked together first time with John Assaraf product, and even with that, I mean, it's that funnel was 48% of the company's revenue. That one
Right.
funnel, and it just came out of nowhere, but it was because it was exactly that. There was the research done that there was a large enough audience, and I did all the math beforehand, and I knew that we had the traffic to make it work and our conversion numbers, and it was just a matter of scaling it out and making sure it was profitable and getting it out to the marketplace. That's yeah, that's really well put. I just love that. And then the value add too is if you have like 12 different products. I mean, maybe if you're just doing your market testing in the beginning to figure out what to run with, like I did that on Amazon. I wrote 3 books, put them up on Amazon to figure out which topic, because each was to me was a different appeal. It was like which one did people like the most, and one of the books started getting a significant number of more number of downloads, and it was the second book of the 3, and it wasn't the one I like thought I was going to make. And then I put my marketing power behind that, and I got it to hit #1 on Amazon. But it was if I was trying to push all 3 to #1, it wouldn't have worked. You had to pick one, and then once you've got this following for like you have this massive audience of people who bought your first product, now there's still this leg room for a 102 and a 103
Right.
and a 104. And that's exactly like you said. If you just have that focus and that simplicity, one, you can implement and speed and build the stuff up so much faster. But the second part of it is that you're not taxed out. It's so simple, it's so basic, and then you can just start stacking on behind it. If that first product only does 6 figures and you've got a 7-figure goal, well, now you know to make a 102 and a 103, and you have a group of people that you can just literally ask them and go, hey, you did my course, what can I help you with next? And they'll tell you.
Right.
And you can just add that. And now and that's how these guys get these complicated funnels, because they just build on top of what's been working and just put, yeah. I love how you put that together, Dimitri. That was awesome. I'm going to re-listen to that and take
Awesome.
notes. I really
Cool.
am.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, do you have like a favorite quote and a favorite book
Yeah,
you can recommend?
absolutely. Favorite quote would definitely be Steve Jobs' quote. And I'm going to read the 4-Hour Workweek version because I actually have it up in front of me right now. Um, so Steve Jobs' quote about, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today was the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something, almost everything. All external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose.
That is so awesome. I love that quote. I was on mute. I was
Sure.
I was just freaking out when you're reading that. This has been such a tough year for me. I've had almost 10 people pass since last November, 3 people in the last 6 weeks alone. But
Wow.
it's been hard. But it just exactly like you said, when you realize your mortality, man, that is just I love that's such a good quote. What
Yeah.
you have Jim Carrey has a quote. He was like, "My dad taught me you can spend your life doing something that doesn't work and something you don't love, so you might as well chase your dreams." Or something like that. It was like you can. Oh no, it was you can fail at what you don't want to do, so you might as well go for what you want.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's such a good quote. Do you feel you're able to live in that? I mean, it's a silly question, I guess, because I mean, you're on your summer trip of traveling across the country. You're still running your company. In fact, you're even speaking at an event soon, and you're still networking. So, is there anything? Is that? Do you have like a ritual that you do? Is that like a habit that you like? Are you doing that every morning and waking up and asking yourself?
Not necessarily, but I do. I remind myself a lot that at some point I'm going to die, and I don't know whether it'll be tomorrow or 300 years from now or sometime in between, right? And but I do try to live my life in a way where I recognize and appreciate my own mortality, and it gives me not only a sense of urgency, but in the sense that I do want to create a lot more in my life, but it also gives me a greater sense of presence because I don't want to miss being here while I'm here, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. So when I'm even when I'm traveling or when I'm with close friends and when I'm working on a project, it really reminds me to just fully be there and appreciate the great opportunity that I get to have by living the life that I live.
Mm.
And then I take that gratitude and put it into my work, and it makes the work and it makes the creation a lot better when you weave it together with that gratitude that you have for life, and also that knowingness that at some point, whatever you build will fall apart and be meaningless. And ultimately, the work of art that you're creating is for you. It's for other people to appreciate, but the reason that you're doing it is for you because this is what you want to do with your life.
Mm, yeah, that's actually really, really profound. I'm listening to some Clement Stone stuff right now, and he had like a daily. I'm just starting to figure out about it, but a productivity and time management thing. He was an early riser, but then he would take a break at like noon and go for a swim, and then he'd come home, work for another hour or two, and then he'd take 2 hours off to be with his kids or his wife, and and then he'd like every night he'd go do some sort of community event, but it was all not work related, but it really helped him be more productive in his life because it was interwoven with these these moments that energized him versus depleting.
Right.
I think if you're at the end of the day, if you're like just totally sacked and bagged, and not in like the good way, like when you work out and you go home, you're like, like I gave my all. But if you're just like, again, so drained that you feel like you're being
Right.
depleted, I think that exactly you're going to get into a bad mental state, and it's just going to start creeping out in other ways in your life. And none of the guys that you've seen do 7 or 8 figures, do they have any of those symptoms at all? Or do you think they figured that out before they
No,
got there?
most of them are pretty. At least all the ones I know, mentors that I have, and all the Mavericks that I've gotten the chance to spend a lot of time with, they're all really, really. I mean, balanced wouldn't even be the right word. They're very, very intentional about how they live their lives. They're very intentional about how they create their businesses. Most of them create their businesses around their lives, or when they put business first, it's because their business is their mission and their purpose in the world. And they really, they're really, really intentional and create these balanced lives that have all the things that they do want and not a lot of the things that they don't want.
Mm, I think that's really important. Yeah, because here's the thing is that, someone can lay out and give you the path to make 7 figures or 8 figures or whatever, but if the rest of your life is not intact, you're going to lose it all one way or another.
Right.
You're gonna drink and drive, and the judge is gonna take it all away because you killed somebody. You're gonna beat up your wife, and there's all these things that you can do wrong, and in one way or another, it will come back and get you. And I think it's important to note as well that you have to work on yourself as you get there because with more money, more problems do come. And I think it's also like if you build a house, if you don't have a flat foundation, it might not matter if you're only going up 3 stories or 4 stories. But I think that's why you even say the guys that are able to do the 8 figure businesses, it's because there's so much simplicity. And I think that's what provides the framework, like a skeleton that just works. If it's too complicated, there's too many weak parts in the chain and it starts to break down. So that's awesome. What are you reading right now, Dimitri? You got any books that you would recommend?
Um, oh, I have so many books that I would recommend. Based on a lot of the stuff we talked about today, honestly, one of my favorite books that's had the biggest impact on my business life has been Traction by Gino Wickman. So Traction, and the subtitle is Get a Grip on Your Business.
I'm looking at that right now, and it's been at my bedside.
Honestly, you have to read that book because of not only the impact that it will have on you and your business, but even more importantly, what it will do for your clients once you read that book.
Got it.
It is like the entrepreneurial structure and operating system that you need to go from 7 figures to 8 figures, from 8 figures to wherever you want to go. And in my case, it's been from multiple 6 to 7. That's our current path. It's been that book has been such a blessing, and there's a bunch of online resources that come with it as well, and worksheets, and it's really more than a book. It's an entire entrepreneurial operating system for how to effectively run and manage a company. So that to me would be my favorite. I continuously reread it throughout the year. I've had my whole management team read it. And without that book, I honestly don't know where our company would be. It's always such a powerful reminder to stay on track.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I've been using the Rockefeller habits for the same reason.
It's very close.
Yeah.
So Traction to me, as I've read the Rockefeller habits, just the book, and I've been to a full day session where we had to implement that stuff. This was a couple of years ago, it was really powerful. And I found that Traction gave a better roadmap for exactly how to implement all of this. Well, Rockefeller Habits was really good, but it was, to me, it was a little bit more philosophy than what Traction gave, as like a very concrete, like, here are the freaking tools, here's exactly how you do everything. and it works.
Mm.
So highly, highly recommend it, and probably to complement what you're doing with Rockefeller Habits.
Got it, got it, got it. Yeah, no, that's it. I'll be on it. It's in my hand. So I was talking with Jermaine Griggs about that because I was on the Rockefeller Habit kick, and I showed him my one-page strategic document, and it had like you have quarterly rocks and your 3 to 5 and 1 year goal and your core values and beliefs and the checklist and that. And he was like, wow, I think that's kind of what I'm going through with traction. That's Dan Sullivan's. Really big proponent of that book. I think his quote is on the or his endorsement's on the front cover, and so
Yeah,
that's
that would make a lot of sense.
yeah. So, but okay, no, I'll add that to mine. I love hearing about good book, and it's right here in my apartment. I'm like pacing around my apartment as we talk. It's so funny when you said that because I just looked at it and turned around to like go back into the living room, and I was like, wait a minute, is that the book? So I guess that's what I'll be doing over the weekend. Um, all right. So what are you doing now? I know right now you're really, really into building this Maverick Next. You are such a beacon of light in a dark world of just trying to connect people to empower each other and change the world. And I know that you're really, really, really reaching out to encourage young entrepreneurs to step forward. And then you've got this group for the six-figure people and up. What are you kind of working on now? What are your main initiatives? How do people get in touch with you? Let's kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Maverick Next is definitely my biggest initiative right now, really changing the model to make it accessible to more people. And right now, biggest thing that I have coming up is an event, 3-day event for those young entrepreneurs, as well as some guests that are coming. That's October 26th, 27th, 28th. So that's coming up literally in like a week and a half. So that's been my biggest focus right now is putting that event on. It's really the pinnacle of everything I've worked on so far, and just really excited for what'll take place there, doing anything from all the business masterminds and workshops, mentorship sessions, as well as some fun stuff like ATVing and possibly mountain biking tours around Boulder. But outside of that, really, there's a much bigger picture that I'm working on that Maverick Next feeds into. And I'm not going to go into the full details of it right now, but it's basically it's something that will combine the passions and talents and energy of young entrepreneurs with the wisdom and the concrete business ideas and experience of more successful entrepreneurs in an incubator format where they can co-create businesses together. That's my really big long-term vision. Is kind of building that up, and I've got an incredible mentor, Yannick Silver, that's on the more successful entrepreneur side of things, and who has an infinite amount of ideas. And then on my end, I'm building the young entrepreneur community around that to be able to have implementers for the things that come out of that. So I know it's a little bit vague right now, and it's because right now it's still kind of in a stage of evolution within our plans. Mm-hmm. But that's my biggest long-term initiative. So depending on when people are listening to this, I would love for them to get in touch, especially if they get entrepreneurs and they're looking for something. They're looking for a new business to build that may have come from the mind or journal of an entrepreneur who's built a 7 or 8 figure business that wants to just give it to them and maybe create some mentorship relationship where they get to build that business. Those are the kind of people I'm looking for. Entrepreneurs that are either have something that is up and running that they want to take to the next level, or they want to create something new that's bigger and better than anything they've done to date, whether or not they know what that thing is yet. They just have that in their hearts that they're destined for greatness and they want to achieve that.
That's awesome. And I know how much you care about people, and I know that this is a project that's very dear to your heart. We've talked about it over and over, and I've seen it kind of evolve over the past year. So I'm sure you'll be successful with it. I mean, you've got an amazing support network. You've got the know-how. You've kind of been there, done that before. You've filled everyone else's events, or at least helped them design the marketing for it.
Yep.
So I have no doubt that you'll be successful. Any way that I can help out, man, just honestly, just reach out, let me know. I'm more than happy to help out any way I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that.
So I guess before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask kind of one thing, because you have had a bit of a who's who of mentors. And I'm just kind of curious, what's the best piece of advice you think that you've got? I'd like to close with that.
That's a good one.
I mean, I don't want to stick you because we've dropped so much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I have something coming to mind. Is just in terms of how I word it, because it's a combination of advice for myself and advice from some of the best mentors that I've had. Um, but it's really just comes back to following your heart and doing what you love. And obviously, we talked about combining that with marketplace reality and doing something that's financially viable and is tested out there and so on and so forth. But really, the best piece of advice is like follow follow your heart and do what you love, because the greatest expression of your love in the world will create your biggest impact, will create the most abundance coming back to you. And whatever it is that you go into, don't feel like you have to wait until some time, until you've built your business to a certain level, until you've gotten a certain amount of skill sets, until you've saved up enough money, whatever it is, to start doing what it is that you love, and then be open to the evolution of that love and what that will create for you and in the world. So don't ever hold that back. That's by far the biggest piece of advice that I've ever gotten. And I've gotten it from various mentors, from conversations with really, really high level entrepreneurs that have helped advise me and helped me skip what would otherwise be many painful years of my life building
Yeah.
something that I wasn't excited about,
Yeah.
and that I've just also gotten from life, from when I've chosen that path versus from when I neglected that path, and seeing the results that that's created for me. It's always been just choose love and follow that.
That's a great message. That's such an awesome message. Dimitri, I'm so blessed to have you as a good friend and companion, and just again for us to have worked together. So thank you so much for your time today. I know you're super busy getting ready for everything, and yeah, I just thank you again. How should people reach out to you? Can we just repeat that again? If someone wants
Yeah,
to reach.
yeah. Best way would be Dima. It's Dima at mavericknext.com.
Got it. Can you spell
Uh,
Maverick next for us?
yep. So Dima at MAVERICKNEXT.com.
That's
That's
awesome.
my best email, and I'm happy to put my number out here as well. It's 508-468-8538. Usually email or text is definitely a good way to get a hold of me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Dimitri. All right, brother. Well, thank you. It has been an honor, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be
Awesome.
back down in Encinitas, San Diego area.
Cool, 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 cool. You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what three lessons did you just learn? What three aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.